There are houses that should never have been built. Structures so unnerving that architects later questioned whether they had been designed by human hands at all. In a forgotten valley of Kentucky in 1934, surveyors discovered a property that challenged everything we thought we knew about architecture, memory, and the unsettling ways families can trap secrets inside walls. It was called the Harlow House. Locals whispered that it had been standing since before the Civil War, but no one remembered who built it. When workers first stepped inside during a government mapping project, 3 of them refused to continue. One resigned from the survey team entirely. What they found was not just a house, it was the culmination of something deliberate, a structure that seemed to grow with its inhabitants in ways science could not explain. Yet the blueprints exist. The photographs exist. And the house still exists, quietly hidden at the end of a dirt road that never appeared on county maps. But here's what will haunt you long after this story ends. The family who lived there believed the house itself was alive. And when asked who had designed it, they all gave the same answer: we didn't build it, it built us. The Harlow family had occupied the valley since the mid-1800s. Every adult claimed to be a caretaker rather than an owner, insisting the home was a gift passed down by something they called the foundation. To outsiders, they seemed eccentric. But to those who dared step inside, the Harlows revealed an obsession with keeping their bloodline tied to the house, as if walls and wood demanded loyalty in exchange for protection. For generations, the house adapted to its residents. Children reported bedrooms that expanded overnight, staircases that realigned themselves, and hallways that appeared only when someone was meant to find them. None of this was ever captured in official reports until 1974, when a team of federal engineers stumbled upon a section of the house that couldn't exist according to its external dimensions. Records show that the earliest Harlow patriarch, Elias Harlow, filed no deed when he claimed the land in 1852. He arrived with no building materials, yet by winter, neighbors noted a 2-story structure standing in the valley. Rumors claimed Elias never hammered a nail, that the walls had risen as if the earth had grown them. Whether true or not, from that year forward the Harlow family stopped participating in community life, retreating into their peculiar dwelling. The soil was poor, the winters merciless, yet the family endured without farming, without trade. They said the house provided. And in its shadow, they began an experiment in isolation that would span 5 generations. Decades later, journals recovered from the basement revealed Elias's philosophy. He believed bloodlines anchored houses, that foundations required memory and sacrifice. He wrote of walls that listen and of rooms that remember. He told his children that marrying outsiders diluted the bond, and that only those who carried Harlow blood could hear the house's true voice. By the 1890s, visitors described the Harlow home as labyrinthine. Windows appeared in impossible places. Corridors connected rooms that should have been separated by yards of solid timber. When guests stayed overnight, they reported waking in chambers that hadn't existed the day before. Yet to the family, these shifts were blessings, signs that the house was evolving with them. Neighbors whispered about children who vanished within the walls, of lullabies echoing from locked closets. By 1910, local officials refused to enter the property at all, calling it cursed. But the family disagreed. They saw perfection. They believed the shifting house was bringing them closer to something eternal. By the 1930s, the Harlow floor plan defied natural law. Blueprints drawn during surveys revealed staircases leading into blank walls, yet when inspectors attempted to follow them, the stairs continued upward into vast attic spaces no one could explain. The family called this the rotation, a process by which the house rearranged itself every 20 years. Detailed ledgers kept by the Harlows treated these rotations as sacred events. Rooms were catalogued like living children, with names, birthdays, and peculiar traits. One entry described a parlor that sang when empty. Another spoke of a staircase that whispered directions. The Harlows believed each rotation brought them closer to what they called the perfect foundation, a state where the house and its bloodline would merge completely. Sarah Harlow, born in 1920, was said to have been the first to hear the house clearly. Neighbors remembered her as unusually pale, with eyes that seemed to flicker in candlelight. She claimed the house spoke to her through vibrations in the floorboards, guiding her to secret passages where she discovered rooms no one else could enter. When engineers later studied her journals, they were baffled. Her drawings depicted architectural forms that mirrored impossible geometries, shapes familiar only to advanced mathematics decades ahead of her time. Experts dismissed them as hallucinations, but her records matched later discoveries almost exactly. Sarah thrived in the house's shifting ecosystem, convinced she was chosen. By 15, she claimed the house had promised her an heir not of flesh, but of structure. Her notebooks described dreams of giving birth not to a child, but to a room that would live forever. And then, in 1937, the house rotated again. Surveyors who entered during the event reported a vibration that shook the valley. Windows lit up though no one was inside. Locals swore they heard singing, not from human voices, but from the walls themselves. By the time authorities arrived, Sarah Harlow was gone. The family insisted she had moved inward, a phrase investigators struggled to interpret. They claimed she had fulfilled her destiny by merging with the foundation. From that year on, every census listed one fewer Harlow than neighbors remembered. The family never admitted death, only absorption. Generations blurred. Names repeated. The outside world stopped asking questions. By the 1960s, when Sarah's nieces came of age, the house had been sealed off from outsiders for decades. Travelers who got lost near the property reported hearing footsteps pacing beneath the ground, even when no buildings were visible. Some claimed the dirt roads themselves seemed to bend away from the valley, as if directing them elsewhere. Yet survey maps confirmed it was still there. A structure of impossible size and shifting design. Officials ignored it, dismissing the reports as local folklore. But in 1974, everything changed. A small fire broke out in the valley, and state emergency teams were dispatched. When they entered the house, they discovered rooms containing objects no one could explain, antique portraits of people no historian could identify, furniture made of unfamiliar woods, and maps of towns that never existed. Most disturbing of all, they found Sarah's journal, decades after her supposed disappearance. The handwriting was fresh, dated only weeks before the fire. Investigators concluded that Sarah, or whatever she had become, was still within the house, guiding its growth. Pages described the next rotation and hinted that soon the house would open to the world. Officials attempted to secure the site, but within months, the valley was mysteriously abandoned. Reports claimed the building had collapsed. Yet aerial photographs taken years later revealed the structure was intact, larger than before, with additions no one had built. Those photos were quietly classified. And for decades, no government agency admitted to monitoring the site. But in 2020, declassified documents revealed a chilling truth: the house was still occupied. Sensors placed around the valley recorded low-frequency vibrations, rhythmic and steady, like a heartbeat. Teams who entered never returned. Records show their names listed as relocated. To this day, locals avoid the valley. On certain nights, they claim the hills themselves glow faintly, and that if you listen closely, you can hear doors opening and closing where no house should be. So the question remains, was the Harlow house a home? Or was it something else entirely, a living structure demanding loyalty, generation after generation, until its bloodline merged fully with its walls? If you've watched this far, you're braver than most. Tell us in the comments, would you dare enter the Harlow house? Because what happened there may not be unique. Across America, there are other valleys, other forgotten properties, and other families who whisper about structures that protect them. Structures that feed them. Structures that may not have been built by human hands at all. The Harlow house is just one story. But the questions it raises about the hidden intersections of memory, architecture, and human devotion remain as haunting and unanswered as the echo of footsteps in empty rooms that should not exist.